Turn on a tap anywhere in America, and clean water comes out. Behind that moment sits one of the largest and least visible systems in the country, and a growing list of federal requirements that shape what comes out of your faucet and what shows up on your bill. Chris Franklin has spent more than 3 decades inside that system. He is the CEO of Essential Utilities, the parent company of Aqua, one of the largest water utilities in the United States. Today, he walks through how water reaches your home, what has to come out of it before it gets there, and why the cost of it keeps climbing. I'm Susan Springsteen, and this is The Leak in the System. When you think of electricity, people understand, they see wires being run, they see the big transformers. They kind of have a general sense about how electricity gets from the beginning source to their light bulb, but they don't see that with water. So how does that system kind of work if you can make it in simplest terms?
So when I talk to my friends in the electric industry, they talk about, we don't ever want outages, but you certainly don't want a prolonged outage. It's painful. I said, well, what you really don't want is an outage in water or wastewater, right? Because in that business, when you can't take a shower, you can't fill your cup up with water, you can't make a cup of tea or a soup, and you can't flush your toilet. I'll tell you what, people get upset pretty quick. We get our water from a number of different sources across the company. So here in Pennsylvania, we have reservoirs and we have rivers, the Schuylkill River, the Delaware River, and we also have wells, deep wells to serve our customers. So depending on the community where you live, we have great resources where we draw the water from. And so we pull the water from those sources and then we push it through our water plants, and we have them regionally located across the footprint here in Southeast Pennsylvania, as well as we do in our other states where we do business. The water is purified there and is tested many, many times before it's put out into the system. And then we test it again in the distribution system to make sure that it's always that quality water that people expect. But we want people to have great confidence in the water that they receive at their home. And then when you turn on your tap, it should work perfectly. But that purification system is a very simple process in many ways. It hasn't changed over the years, but it's much more complex in new ways because we test for things like forever chemicals and other contaminants that we didn't even know were in the water many years ago, but we test at such a level today that we take things out of the water that people didn't even know existed in the water 10, 15, even 25 years ago.
One of those contaminants has changed what water treatment costs in this country: PFAS. PFAS is a family of man-made chemicals used for decades in everything from non-stick cookware to food packaging. It never came from the water system, but removing it now falls to the utilities. Just to dial back in case somebody doesn't know what PFAS are, can you explain kind of what they are and what you're dealing with it specifically, or maybe a little bit more?
They're finding it all over the world now. Over time, as it builds up in the body, it can be dangerous. And so that's why we want to take it out of the water supply. And you want to take it out of the food supply as well. But we're finding it in remote areas of the world now just because it had become such a pervasive chemical used in so many different products.
From what I've read, the water utilities didn't cause this problem, but it's up to you to solve it.
That's right.
So that's got to be incredibly expensive. Is that part of what's going into, you're seeing more frequent increases in rates to customers and things like that? Is that because of PFAS remediation and things that you're now being required to perform?
It really is, Sue. I mean, just to give you a sense, in our Pickering treatment plant, which is in Chester County, Pennsylvania, we think to mitigate PFAS in just that one treatment plant is in the range of $150 million. And so this is very, very expensive treatment. And it's not hard to do. It's not complicated treatment. It's largely carbon, but it's the installation of multiple filters that the water would run through. And then as the media, or in this case, the carbon wears out, then you have to replace it. So it's an ongoing operating cost as well. It's expensive. And then if you couple that with what the federal government is requiring in lead treatment, right? Under the Biden administration, they said they want all lead pipes out of the system in the United States over the next decade. And when you think about doing that, it's a massive and expensive undertaking. As part of that, you needed to look at all of the service lines. That's the line that goes from the curb into your home, owned by the resident. But we have to go through and test all of those. So we have to dig down, see what kind of pipe that is. And then if it's a pipe that we think would have potential lead in it, then we've got to dig it up, take it out, and replace it. Incredibly expensive. And so that will cost us at least $500 million over the period of time to take care of this problem. So yeah, all of these federal rules drive up costs. And of course, we're kind of stuck in the middle as the folks who fix these things, and we have to charge the rates to overcome them. But it is what we do to make the water safe.
Requirements like these apply to every water system in the country, no matter its size. A treatment upgrade that a large utility spreads across millions of customers might fall on a small town serving only a few thousand households. The United States has more than 50,000 water utilities, most of them small, and many can't carry these costs alone.
Well, if you think about the very basics of a utility, we're about economies of scale, taking these big fixed assets, our plants and our pipe, and spreading them over as many people as we possibly can. That economies of scale is what then keeps rates for everyone at a reasonable level. And so as we get all of these requirements put upon us, the more people we can spread it over, the better we are. That's why scale really matters in the utility business. It's one of the key drivers as to why Essential Utilities, my company, is combining with American Water. So many of these small systems have a small number of customers, and it's very difficult then to finance all of the needs and all the work we need to do over a small group of people in a smaller town. It's just very difficult.
So as you think about your customers, what is something you wish they knew that you don't think they know?
I wish they had a better understanding of what's driving cost. If people really understood what drives cost, federal government rules, PFAS, lead, right? These are critical drivers of cost in our business. Even if we do all of our financing is as efficiently as we can. In other words, we raise capital and debt at the most effective rate. The cost drivers beyond the basics are being driven by the federal government. And then overlay with that, the vast need to replace old infrastructure, meaning pipe that's outdated or plants that are old technology and don't run as efficiently. If you run modern pumps, you can run with a lot less electricity than you can the old pumps. I'm talking about variable speed pumps that rise and fall with need. You can do a lot more. So all of these things drive cost. And I think, unfortunately, we have a portion of the population who believes it's all about profit, which is, we have a regulated profit. So it's really not about profit. It's really about capital spending on critical items that then generate the need for rates to overcome financing needs for these various things. So if people understood that a little bit better, I think they would say, I don't love rate increases. Nobody does, but I understand why they're necessary.
Yes, and it beats having PFAS in the water. Problem is the options are less attractive.
Very true.
Everything in this conversation so far makes water more expensive. Chemicals that have to come out, pipes that need to be replaced, and small systems that can't keep up. Chris sees one thing that could work in the other direction, and it's what his own employees ask him about most.
One of the most commonly asked questions when I do forums around the company now is, how will AI affect us, and will we be reducing the total number of jobs that we have today as a result of artificial intelligence? And I tell people that's not my expectation at all. I see artificial intelligence as an accelerator, right? The key is we need to use it. If we don't use it, we will be bypassed or we'll lose vital opportunities. I think there are tremendous opportunities, like we're seeing in medicine, just to advance our thinking more quickly. And that could be in water quality. It's certainly in the service we provide our customers, whether it's in a call center or it's a self-service opportunity for our customers. But artificial intelligence is absolutely an opportunity for us to reduce cost and increase efficiency. And we're Americans. When we went from the individual assembly to the industrial age and assembly lines, we reinvented ourselves. When we went from horse and buggy to automobiles, right? We reinvented ourselves. We're Americans. I'm optimistic about this country, and I think we'll figure it out, and there will be more jobs, and we'll just move faster. I think AI, if used properly, used for good, then I think it can be a great accelerator for our country and our people.
And it might even bring the cost of water down.
You never know. You never know.
Every tap in America sits at the end of the same long chain. Water pulled from rivers and wells, treated down to parts per trillion, carried into your home by one of the biggest systems in the country. That system is in the middle of the most expensive decade of its life. If this episode changed how you think about what's behind your water bill, share it with someone who should hear it. Follow The Leak in the System wherever you listen, and I'll see you next episode.